we're not the only ones. I saw a Craigslist ad where somebody had posted an ad to warn people about renting from Southside Investments because he had jacked everybody's rent up, and his rent went up like, I think it was $400. It was pretty close to the same as mine. And it was a small apartment. I don't know. But there's a lot of tenants having problems with this guy, and he's not the only landlord that's doing this kind of shit, and he's just maybe the worst. So anyway, trying to figure out where to go from here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play some music, because to me, playing music is a part of the whole thing. Like, music is great because it attaches a feeling to things that you don't get from just words. But it's also, words have their limitations, but so does music. Music has its limitations. Like, music can make you feel and make you understand something emotionally, but it's very limited in teaching you a history or a cohesive, making a totally cohesive, coherent, well-rounded statement. So I'm going to play some music for you now, and then we'll get back.
roaches up to my knees. Turn the oven on, it smells like that, yeah. Till the rain pours through the ceiling. But we can, you know we can. But we can, you know we can. Let's wish the landlord, let's wish the landlord, let's wish the landlord man. The landlord man.
All right. That's Lynch the Landlord, Dead Kennedys. And before that, I played X, We're Desperate. So, anyway, trying to get down to exactly what's going on, because I realized that I'm taking a lot more time than I thought I would to tell this entire story. I didn't think it was going to take me 20 minutes to go through that whole thing. But anyway, so where we're at today is that we have a series of meetings set up with city council, and it's gone through this entire lengthy process, and there's Spokane for Progress and all these different organizations, Peace and Justice Action League, and Goodwill Charities, and all these other people are involved, and it's all brand new to me. So like, my hope is that you will learn along with me, because I really don't know anything about local activism and local politics, and having thrown myself in the middle of all this, it's really revitalizing. Like, it's exciting. It really energizes you, especially when you start seeing some victories. And right now we have a series of meetings set up, and originally it was supposed to be these 4 meetings with landlords and tenants, and Terry, as far as I know, kind of led the way in saying, hey, you know, we did this, and it was shouting matches and nothing was getting done and blah blah blah. So Kate Burke, I think, took the incentive to say, well, we'll make these meetings to where the landlords can have one on their own, and then the tenants can have one on their own, and then we'll have these 2 meetings coming up where both parties are involved, which I don't know how that's going to go. I'm not sure if they're going to fill those rooms the same, but I know for the landlords meeting, it was a packed house. Like, City Hall was completely packed out the doors, full of landlords. I mean, there was a few of us tenants there that were just going to see what was being said, so that we would have a response, and that's all. But they put out a thing on Facebook saying that we were going to come and we were going to try to shut them out and fill the room so that they couldn't talk, and we were going to fight with them, and we were going to try to cause problems and all this, everything. But we didn't. You know, I went there and I saw one person was sitting there knitting and just listening, and I was sitting there typing and writing out responses in real time, and which was a little tricky, but luckily a pretty decently fast typer. But it was just a weird situation, just listening to all these landlords gather. And I guess I should make it clear that the reason that we're having these meetings is to figure out what to enact, and what the tenants union wants to make happen is, well, the number one priority is that we get just cause eviction. And just cause eviction means that a landlord would have to have a reason to evict you. Because as it stands right now, you have no rights. If a landlord decides that they just want you to go, then you go. And they'll throw you out on the street, and you got 20 days to figure it out. And they think that this is reasonable. And in fact, they're very offended and pissed off that anybody would tell them that they would have to wait even 60 days, which is what they think we're asking for. But we're not. We're asking for them to have a just cause to throw somebody out. And that if you do throw them out because of things like renovation or something like that, that they have 60 to 90 days to figure out where they're going to go. And to them, this is unreasonable because they think that they're going to lose profits and that somehow is more important than somebody having a secure place to live. So as it stands right now, if you're a renter in Spokane, which is over 50% of the population of Spokane, that means that you are not secure. At any given time, something could happen and your landlord could just decide that you're going to go. And even if we just get just cause eviction, there's no rent control or anything. So a landlord could do what my landlord did when he bought that place and raise the rent by $475 a month and get you the fuck out of there. Unfortunately, this is the commodified relationship that we're in, to where it's their profit versus our livelihood and our safety and our well-being. And somehow in their mind, their profit takes precedent because they're somehow making the community better by owning property. And and they say they worked hard for it. That's the other thing that just is beyond me, like how you worked hard to accumulate property. And I mean, I've known people that own property and they don't do a whole lot, you know. When somebody is a renter that, like I said, owns a lot of property, it's not like they're working every day. I mean, it's basically, it's a way to retire or a way to have extra money because you want to be wealthy in some way, in some form. It's like at least your hope that you're going to become wealthy off of buying property. You don't do it because you want to house people and give people a leg up. I mean, I had a friend who died in a car accident, and he had these recovery houses and everything. And his recovery houses, he definitely wasn't making profit on those. And it was a beautiful thing that he did. He owned a shitload of property, and he wasn't doing bad. I mean, he had a big house. So, I don't know. It's hard for me to feel bad for people when they say that, oh, but that's the other thing, is they don't think that there's any other reasonable solution besides the free market and people buying and people owning and accumulating property and wealth, and that is somehow good for the community. But there's another alternative, and that's providing a path to ownership for the renters, and community co-op buildings, democratically ran, a committee runs it, you know, you vote people in, that sort of thing. Small enough unit, you just take your votes. I mean, it's really not hard to understand how it would work. And then the public housing, and there's a lot of articles out there about the failure of public housing in the United States, but there's shining examples in places like Vienna where public housing has been a great option for people, and they even open it up to people on the lower rungs of the middle class. In Vienna, if you make what is the equivalent of about $55,000 in the United States, you can live in the public subsidized housing. So there's lots of other alternatives besides the free market, and alternatives that don't put that profit model and that contentious relationship, that money relationship involved with your housing. And I mean, you still have to pay your rent and that sort of thing, but there's not a person there whose wealth. And sometimes I'll admit this, there are some people that are smaller owners of these homes that only own, you know, one or two or whatever, and they're not really seeing riches off of it. It's an investment, and they will make money, they will return, but they don't have a